Good morning, everybody. Hope you're all doing well today, and thank you for joining us for another Maryland PTAC webinar. We're pleased to have you here today. My name is Yasmin Razak. I'm the Marketing and Training Coordinator at the PTAC, and today the webinar topic will be how to read and understand a federal government solicitation, and it is led by our PTAC counsellor, Arthenia LeFlore. Hi, Arthenia.
Good morning, Yasmin. Good morning, everyone.
We're going to get started in a few seconds. There will be opportunities for you to ask Arthenia your questions. And the way you do that is by typing it in the chat box on your screen, and Arthenia will get to the questions at the end of the webinar. We will also be emailing you a copy of your presentation as well. A little bit about the Maryland PTAC, in case any of you don't know much about us, is that we are here to help position Maryland-based businesses to fully compete in federal, state, and local government procurement processes. So if you would like to speak to a counsellor, it's free and it's confidential. Please go to our website, which is mdptac.org, and register. A counsellor will be assigned to work with you and will contact you to schedule a session. If you have been counselled before, all you have to do is log back into your account on the website, and you'll see the details on how to connect with your counsellor. Okay, that's it pretty much for me. So over to you, Arthenia.
Okay, good morning, everyone. As Yasmin stated, today we will be talking about identifying key attributes of the government solicitation bid package. I am on slide 1. So during this session, you will be able to identify the elements of a government solicitation bid package. That is on the local, state, and federal levels. Most of the state solicitations are different from the federal. However, the format is generally the same. You will also be able to respond more effectively to government solicitations because you will know some of the key elements to look for when you are reviewing the solicitations. As Yasmin stated, we are the Maryland PTAC. We're here to increase contracting activity between small businesses and prime government contractors and the local, state, and federal government. These are some of the strategies that we aim to help you with. And again, we know that these are very, very challenging times, especially for small business owners. So we are here to help you in whatever capacity that we can. Some of the items that I do stress to help you as a small business to grow is to definitely have some contracting vehicles. One of the items that we do specialize in, we do emphasize a lot, is the GSA schedule. We do help with bid and proposal solicitation assistance. However, we do stress that you allow us at least 2 to 3 weeks prior to the solicitation or proposals that are due so that we can better help you prepare for a very good response to a technical and a cost proposal. We also look at your business assessment, making sure that you are ready to do business with the local, state, or federal government. And as always, we specialize in different workshops to help you grow as well. We are funded through the Department of Defense, DLA, Maryland Department of Labor, the University of Maryland, Harford County Economic Development Authority, and the City of Baltimore. I'm sorry, the City of Bowie. All right, so we're going to start with the executive summary, which is a very, very, very important component when you are submitting a technical proposal in response to a solicitation. So when the government wants to buy a good or a service, it issues a solicitation. And there are very many types of solicitations. Primarily today, we'll be looking at RFPs, which is one form of a solicitation, which is a request for a proposal. Solicitations are documents that make the government's requirements clear. And always they're not very clear. So in those emphasis, the government will allow you to be able to submit questions and answers. Okay, why is this? I'm sorry, I have to go back. Okay, again, solicitations are documents that make the government's requirement clear. So businesses that can submit competitive bids or proposals. So keep in mind that the government, whether it's the state or federal, want you to be successful. They want to be able to get good technical proposals and cost proposals that are within their budget. As a small business doing work with the government, you will be responding to solicitations. A solicitation is a bid package, often complicated with documents or attachments that make up the package, to which you develop a responsive proposal. So the contracting officer is looking for you to be responsible and responsive to the solicitations. Always, if you have an opportunity to attend a pre-bid meeting, you definitely want to be able to do that so that you can get more clarification, so that you will be responsible and responsive. So the contracting officer will release the solicitation. Generally, the solicitations are advertised for 30 days, with proposals being due on the specific due date that's listed in the solicitation. So here we're talking about 3 different types of solicitations. One is an invitation for bid, better known as an IFB, request for proposal, RFP, or request for quote, RFQ. Now your invitation for bid is generally, and your request for quote, are generally solicitations where you're just responding with a unit price and a total price of the contract. The request for proposal is much more extensive, where you are submitting a technical proposal and a cost proposal. Requests for proposals can be extremely time consuming, so it is best that you allow yourself enough time to respond. If you are not familiar with writing technical proposals, I suggest that you hire someone, a consultant that has experience in writing proposals to assist you. Proposals can cost anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 to submit, which does not guarantee you a contract. The typical RFP is significantly complex document that reads like a legal text and has very specific requirements that are associated with it. Most state and federal government RFP formats are mandated by the Code of Maryland Regulations, that's for the state, better known as COMAR. And if you are submitting a federal solicitation, those regulations are governed by the Federal Acquisition Regulation known as the FAR. I generally refer to these 2 items as the Bible, the COMAR for the state, the FAR for the federal government. They are principal set of rules and regulations through which the government purchases its goods and services, and one in which they expect you as a contractor to abide by. RFP solicitation breakdown. Now, again, this is looking at it from the federal aspect. So section A, we have the information to offers or quotes. And first of all, you must read the entire solicitation from page 1 to the end of the solicitation so that you will fully understand what the government is asking you to respond to. So again, section A is your information to offers or quoters. Section B is your addresses the supplies or services and your price and your cost. Section C is the statement of work. Very, very important. I suggest that this is one of the first parts that you really concentrate on. Go through this section with a highlighter. If there are questions or concerns, they need to be in writing right away and addressed to the contracting officer so that you clearly understand what the statement of work is asking you to do. Section D is your packages and marketing. Section E, inspection and acceptance. Section F are your deliverables or your performance. Section G, contract administration data. Very, very important. This is going to tell you what reports you had to respond to when you awarded this contract, when those reports are due, how many copies of the reports that are required. Section H, your special contract requirements. Section I, very, very important that you know the contract clauses. Very important that you know when the government has in there those clauses, they may say this contract can be terminated for default, or it could be determined that the government no longer has a need for this contract, so it can be terminated for convenience. That is all listed in your section I. Section J are your attachments and exhibits. Section K, very important, are your reps and certs. Generally, you have to indicate whether you're small, woman-owned business. I know you generally will address this in SAM, but in a lot of solicitations, the government still requires that you complete Section K. Section L and M are of utmost importance. Section L talks about how your proposal should be presented to the government. If the government is asking you to submit your technical proposal in a 12 font capacity, that's what it should be. If the government's asking you for page limitations, that's what it should be. Section M is your evaluation criteria. This is also a very important section because we're seeing a lot now in Section M where the government's asking you for your past performance. They're also very critical of your financial capacity to be able to respond to the solicitation. But even if you are awarded a contract, they want to know that you had the financial capacity to fulfill that contract. Let's talk about Section A, information to offers or quoters. This section identifies the title of the procurement, solicitation, or contract number, the point of agency contact, which could be the contract specialist, or it could be the contracting officer. It'll tell you how to acknowledge amendments. For instance, if you receive 3 amendments to this solicitation, you have to respond that and indicate that you have received the amendments to the solicitations. The amendments are any information that the contracting officer wants you to be made aware of. Sometimes amendments will come through extending the due date of the proposals. Or if you decide not to bid, you want to make sure that you respond to the contracting officer, letting them know that you will not be responding if that's what you decide to do. Section B, your supplies or services and your price and cost. This section is where you will provide pricing information. Generally, if you are responding again to an IFB or RFQ, this is where you will put your unit price of the line item as well as your total for that particular line item. It defines the type of contract, whether it's a firm fixed price, cost reimbursement type contract, or time and material. So you will contract by line item, which is generally called a CLINS, C-L-I-N-S, contract line items. Subcontract line items, your SLINs, and all other billable items associated with the contract. Again, it's found in Section B. Section C, as I stated, very, very important. It's your statement of work, and it describes what the government agency wants you to do or supply. So if you're looking at the statement of work and you don't have the necessary personnel to respond to the statement of work, then you know that you must decide not to bid. Because if you are going into this contract guessing that you may have personnel at the time, that's a red flag, and that should be a red flag to you as a government owner, because if you're telling the government you had the personnel and the management staff to do the contract, and if he or she awards you the contract and you cannot perform, you may very well go on a debarment list as being non-responsive. Section D, your packages and your marking. This section defines how all contract deliverables, such as reports and material, will be packaged and shipped or delivered. Section E, your inspection and acceptance. This section identifies the tasks the contractor must be prepared to undertake and describe the process by which the government officially accepts deliverables and what will happen if the work is not accepted. So you have task 1, which is going to talk about how you're going to deliver. Your task 2 is to make sure that you are able to deliver. And finally, the last item is your deliverable, which the government is asking you to deliver. If, however, if there's a particular instance where you're not able to deliver the particular product on time and within budget or within schedule, then you must let the contracting officer know immediately. Section F deals with your deliveries or performance. Very, very important. This section defines how the contracting officer will control the work performed and how you will deliver certain contract items. A lot of times, if your solicitation has in there where the contracting officer wants you to produce monthly reports, the monthly reports may be due the 30th of every month. That's what they are asking you to do. So you must consider whether you are in fact capable of delivering those monthly reports. If not, let the contracting officer know. If not, again, if you can't respond within that time, then you can be considered non-responsive. And we don't want you to be put on a debarment list because of that. On Section G, your contract administrative data. This section describes how the contracting officer and your firm will communicate to ensure both performance and prompt payment. Section G, method of payment. Very, very important. The federal government has prompt payment rules that require most payments to be made by electronic funds transfer. Also, you want to make sure that when you are pricing out your supplies or your services, your prompt payment terms to the government. They may, you may offer the government prompt payment within 30 days, you will offer them a 1% or 2% discount. Sometimes it will take the government 45 to 60 days to pay you after you have performed the work. So it's very, very important that you have the finances to cover this gap between when you give that final deliverable and when you are paid by the government. Remember that you have to pay your personnel. You have to pay your consultants. You have to pay your suppliers while you are waiting to be paid by the federal government. Again, we are on section G, talks about what goes in your invoice. Generally, you must put your contract number. Sometimes the government will ask you, what amount does this invoice cover? And what does it cover in the contract? So you may have to identify your particular line items on your invoice. Just depends what the contracting officer is asking you to do. Section H, your special contract requirements. This section contains a range of special contract requirements, which can include your key personnel, emergency preparedness, protective sensitive information, background investigations, risk level designation for the contract, and standard post-government employment certifications. And we will talk about these items in the next couple of slides. Protecting sensitive information. The government must protect sensitive information during the course of project work and has special requirements about confidentiality and data protection. Again, if you do not understand what the government is asking you in this section, you must, I cannot emphasize that enough, and you should write the contracting officer to get additional clarification. Background investigations. You must undergo a background investigation if you, number one, work on site and have unescorted access to government offices or facilities, have access to government networks or systems, or work on contracts and other awards for services with a value greater than $100,000 or on any contract or award at the discretion of the federal government. So again, those background checks are very, very important. I suggest if you are thinking about submitting a solicitation, that you get background checks on you and your personnel to make sure that you have this in being responding to the solicitation before a contract award. Risk level designation. Every federal government position, including those of contractors, must be designated with a sensitivity level. As a contractor, you must meet personnel security, suitability standards, compensate with your position's sensitivity level. And you must be subject to personnel investigation requirements. So if you are hiring a consultant or if you are hiring employees, you have to make sure that these items are in place before you submit your technical proposal, adding these particular positions as part of your management staff. Post-government and employment certifications. If you plan to use a former federal government employee on your contract, then you typically need to complete and submit a post-government employment certification before that employee can work on the contract. Again, before you submit your proposal, you want to make sure that you have a good understanding from the contracting officer what exactly is required. Every agency is different. What you may have to submit to NIH may be different from what you submit to the State Department. Former government employees may be required to provide additional information about their responsibilities while employed at the agency. and as a post-government employee working on the agency's contract or a subcontract. So if you are leaving the federal government as of, say, a retired federal employee, you are now going to work for a contractor. You must, I would suggest you go to the legal department in that federal agency and make sure that you have the capacity to work on that contract as a subcontract, especially if you worked on that contract while being a federal employee. Section I, again, I was talking about the federal acquisition regulation as it is related to federal contracts. But again, remember, if you are submitting a state contract or proposal, you want to make sure that you fully understand the COMA regulation. These regulations are online. If you're not sure about them, we at the PTAC can go over these. We're not attorneys, but we can certainly go over these regulations with you to make sure that you are comfortable when you submit a technical and a cost proposal. So here we are talking about the federal aspect when we talk about the FAR. And the FAR is the government's Bible as it relates to government contracting. So the FAR, this section identifies the particular clauses. You will find some solicitation have 2 or 3 pages of just FAR regulations, which can go into great detail. And some of those clauses are spelled out in the solicitation for you. Others, you will have to actually go online and go to the regulations and the FAR themselves to see what the meaning of these clauses are. I always stress to my clients that I do recommend that if you are responding to a solicitation that goes into details about FAR clauses, that you want to be able to go to your attorney, which should have experience, contracting attorney, and get them also to explain to you what these clauses mean. What you don't want to do is be awarded a contract, and again, the contracting officer will terminate you, and you're on a debarment list, and it may be a possibility that you will never be able to submit another proposal and respond to a solicitation. So it is very, very important that you are familiar with Section I. These clauses have the same force and effect as if they were given in full text and are incorporated into the contract. While this section doesn't require a separate response, its terms will be binding. So you are binding and saying that to the government that you fully accept these FAR clauses and that you understand exactly what they mean. Subcontracting reporting. If subcontracting is approved under award, which is always part of your subcontracting plan, you must submit a subcontracting report on a semi-annual basis. So while the government does not get involved with you as a prime and your sub, they do or will hold you accountable if you are the prime on submitting your subcontracting reports from your subcontractors. Audit of records. If subcontracting is approved under an award, you must submit a subcontracting report on a semi-annual basis. So when you are working, if you are a prime and you are working with a sub, you and your sub should have a teaming agreement and subcontracting reports that you will be submitting to the contracting officer. You as the prime will be responsible for that. Section I continues. Public release of contract award and advertising publicity information. So once a contract is awarded by the contracting officer, that is public information. You will find a lot of contract awards in beta .sam, used to be called SAM. It used to also be called the Federal Procurement Documents that were eventually are added to CPARs. And CPARs is when you as a prime contractor are given a score by the contracting officer, which is another very important item when you are delivering your product or your services. Because as a prime, again, the contracting officer will be doing a report card and a scorecard on your company and your performance. Again, very important because it is public information. And you want to, once you have successfully completed a contract, you want to be able to use that contract as part of your past performance, because that will be important for you to bid on your next solicitation. Okay, so we're talking about Section J. Section J, again, is your attachments and your exhibits. Read those attachments very, very clearly. Make sure that you have all the attachments that are associated with that solicitation. If you do not have all of the attachments with the solicitation, then you must go back and make sure that you had those attachments. If you are attending a pre-proposal conference, make sure that you take the solicitation with you along with the attachments. This section will list any changes or additional attachments as it relates to the statement of work. They can cover a wide range of subjects, from your technical specifications through statement of work items, labor categories as required by the federal government or the state. Again, Section K, very familiar part of the solicitation, where your reps and your certifications. It's very important that if you have added perhaps maybe some new certifications that your company has been awarded, for instance, like if you become 8A, or now you're a WOSB, or now you are a service-disabled veteran, you want to update your same profile to include those reps and certs, as well as indicate those when you are responding to a solicitation. Be very important as well. If you're responding to a solicitation and maybe the solicitation is saying it's a set aside for a WOSB or set aside for a service-disabled veteran, and you are not either one of those, certified as either one of those capacities, then you cannot be the prime contractor, which means then you're going to have to look for a teaming partner that will be able to respond to that solicitation based on those certs and reps. Proposal preparation instructions. Again, the first thing that you want to do is read the solicitation. Make sure that you understand exactly everything of that statement of work that the federal government is asking you to perform. And if you're responding to the state of Maryland, you want to understand the solicitation, the statement of work, and how you are going to respond to the solicitation. So after you have completely read the proposal and you want your PTAC counselor to sit down with you and go through each one of these sections of the solicitation, the PTAC counselor will be able to do that. We only advise that you give us adequate time so that we can respond to you. Once you have the solicitation and understand the statement of work, now you are beginning to ready to write and respond to the technical proposal. So again, you want to have your team ready. You want to have your subcontractors ready so that you can write a winning proposal. We at the PTAC offer classes quite frequently on how to respond to the proposal. What should go into your executive summary? Allow yourself enough time for editing. It can be the last minute that the contracting officer will issue you a solicitation that may entirely change the statement of work. Allow yourself enough time to respond to the solicitation. Allow yourself enough time to be able to deliver your technical and your cost proposal, whether that's being delivered by the post office, Federal Express, or hand delivered. Allow yourself enough time, because what you don't want to do is to be submitting a late proposal. What happens when you submit a late proposal? You are non-responsive, and the federal government will not evaluate your proposal. So you do not want that to happen, because what could happen as well, you've spent a lot of money, you have spent a lot of time in responding to this solicitation, and then you are late. The federal government will not accept your proposal, and this is very, very, very devastating to a small business. Section M, probably one of the most important evaluation criteria of the solicitation. Once you have read the statement of work, once you have understood the solicitation and what the requirements are, you must look at the evaluation criteria. This is usually where the government will compare your technical proposal to what they are looking for, and making sure that you are responsible and responsive, and that you can in fact deliver and you can perform the contract what they are asking you for. So this section outlines how the agency will evaluate your proposal and get a full understanding before they make an award that you are the right contractor to perform. So with that, Yasmin, I'm ready for questions.
Okay, thank you, Arthenia.
You're welcome.
So let's see. Just like to remind everybody that they can type out their questions in the chat box so that Arthenia can try and address as many as possible before the hour is up. This webinar is also being recorded. Some of you have asked about that, and it will be put on the webinar section of our website later this week. Okay, so we have a question. What is the FAR number for the prompt payment clause? Is there a specific FAR clause that authorize payments to be expedited to small businesses?
Yes, that's a very, very good question. So I don't know it offhand, but I suggest that you Google FAR, Federal Acquisition Regulation, and you should be able to receive an answer. You can also go back to, if that's something that you want to be addressed, then that should be addressed and answered by the contracting officer. Again, you have different, some federal agencies are not mandated by to award a contract based on the FAR. So you want to make sure that you fully understand that what those requirements are, and don't be afraid to ask the contracting officer a question, or we at the PTAC can answer that question on your behalf. So that should be in the FAR regulation. Again, Google Federal Acquisition Regulation, and you should be able to get an answer to that question. Okay, thank you, Yasmin.
Okay, great. Oh, this one's a bit of a long one. Try and keep your questions simple and short. This webinar. And obviously, if you have more detailed questions pertaining to your business, then that is something you should address with your counselor at the next session. So this one, the essential purpose of the Prompt Payment Act is to prevent slow payments. This act is a mandatory flow down clause. Okay, that's not a question. So that's just a statement. So
Okay.
please just post questions, but nothing else at the moment. So if you want to continue. Arthenia?
Yes.
Okay, so we don't have any more at the moment. So if you'd like to continue.
Oh, you don't have any more questions?
Let me see, let me check. Okay, now some are coming through. Here we go.
Okay.
Where can businesses find solicitations?
Oh, that's a very, very good question. So if you're looking on the state level, you can go to what used to be eMaryland Marketplace, but now it's called Emma. And that's where the state will advertise its local state contracts. If you want to also do business with the school systems, those are on Emma. The federal government will advertise its goods and services on beta.sam. We also at the PTAC have a very, very good subscription, a yearly subscription, where it's called the Bid Match service. It's a subscription where you also can find solicitations to respond to. And those solicitations will come directly to your email. We will set up a profile for you. The cost is $120 per year, but you will get those solicitations sent directly to your email based on your next codes and your word descriptions of what you want to respond to.
Okay, great. Somebody said, how do I get counselor? Super easy, I can answer that one. Basically go to our website, mdptac.org, and at the top you'll see a register button. Once you complete the application form and sign it online, you will be assigned to work with a counselor within a couple of days. And at the moment, all our counseling is being delivered over the phone, via email, and via webinar. And obviously, hopefully when this crisis dies down and we're back to some sort of normality, you will have the option again to go in and see your counselor if you prefer at their location. We have counselors in Baltimore, in Bowie, in Columbia, in Harford County, and in College Park. Okay, let's see. How do you get help filing for the minority certificate?
Okay, that's a very good question as well. If you want the Maryland MDOT certification, then you will have to go through the Maryland Department of Transportation. They offer great technical assistance in helping you to complete that certification. You can also go to our sister organizations, the Small Business Development Center. They can assist you with the MDOT. If you are looking to become 8A, WOSB, EDWOSB, or Services Able CVE Verified, they can also help you with those particular certifications. Let me make a little more emphasis. If you are a veteran, that is not a certification. If you are looking to get the CVE verification, that's a verification process. And we at the PTAC have two of our counselors that help you and will help sit down with you to complete the application for the CVE verification process. So it really depends on what you're looking for, the certification versus the verification, and which certification you're looking for as a small business owner.
Wonderful. How do you obtain the clearance prior to submitting a contract?
That's, I call that sometimes can be a very, very catch-22. Generally, a clearance is one that has to be submitted by a prime. So if you are say for instance, a sub, and you want to submit your contract and you don't have a clearance, then you're not going to be eligible, because that's most of the time a requirement when you submit the solicitation. So when you're submitting that solicitation, you're already telling the government that you have a clearance. Now, if you don't have a clearance, you have to look for a sponsor. And most of the times those sponsors are by a prime contractor that you are working for as a sub. So those are the types of items that you need to make sure that you have before you submit the proposal. And if you don't have them, then you're going to be considered non-responsive.
Okay, Let's see if there's any more. What's the best way to find partners to bid on contracts? I am new and I don't have past performance metrics for the government.
Okay, that's another good one. There are a couple of different ways to do that. One, and you're new, so some of these terms you may not be familiar with, but I generally sit down with my clients and I go to what's called GSA e-library. So depending on the services or supplies that you want to offer, there are a number of prime contractors that already have contracts with the federal government that you could be a potential teaming partner with. Remember, your large contractors such as Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, they want to know what you bring to the table. So large contractors need you as a small business owner to help their subcontracting plan participation, but they're also going to look to you as a small business to bring an opportunity to the table. So, you may look at, if you're a veteran, look at another veteran for a teaming partner. SBA has a list of prime contractors. So does GSA that you can do teaming with. But when you are marketing to that prime, you have to bring something to that prime that they need or they want you to help them to win a contract with. If you want to get past performance, start small. Look for simplified acquisitions. Those are acquisitions maybe for trainings, maybe for consulting services. They're small acquisitions, but at least that they will get you past performance and will be able to get your foot in the door.
Okay, and we have time for one more. Is there a list of subcontractors for prime contractors to pull from?
Is there a list of subcontractors?
Yes.
I believe.
I guess what she's asking is if prime contractors are looking for subcontractors, is there anywhere you can register yourself to make yourself available or whatever?
Yes, absolutely there is. And that's where your certifications come in. I'm a firm believer if you are a minority and you are qualified that you should by all means get the MDOT certification, because once you are considered a small, and there are different requirements that based on your particular NAICS code, and you are approved by the state of Maryland to be receive that MDOT certification, your name will go in the MDOT certification directory. And that is one of the main ways that a prime contractor can look for you if you are in the MDOT directory. For instance, also if you are certified by the city of Baltimore as a minority, you will be listed in the city's minority directory. That is a good way for a prime contractor to look for you. We at the PTAC can help, and we do that quite often. We will match up a prime with a sub. So there are very different ways of making that happen. The key here is timing. We have to have enough time to work with you. You have to have enough time to work with us, because if we're asking you to complete some tasks or action items that are associated with the solicitation, we want to make sure that you are in compliance and successful. So hopefully that has answered your question.
Yes, you're on fire today, Arthenia.
All right, I'm fired up. I'm ready to go.
Well, that's good. Okay, you've answered all the questions for now.
Okay.
So do you want to continue and then take some more? Like,
Okay.
Somebody said she's killing it. We agree.
Yes. So I can take more questions, Yasmin.
Okay. If you have any more questions, or if you think I missed your question, please rephrase it. You might as well get it while Arthenia's here. And I know that during this crisis, a lot of you have a lot of worries about your business and stuff like that, which is understandable. So we want to be here to support you and at least point you in the right direction of resources that we know are available. But no, nothing else has come through right now.
Okay, well, again, I'll just go through some other fine points about formal solicitations. They're generally used in your high dollar value complex type of requirements. And also, everyone remember that it can take the government 12 to 18 months to even award a contract. So it doesn't happen overnight. The government can ask you for extensions on once you have submitted your proposal. Again, if it may take a long time for the government to make an award, make sure that you have key personnel on hand for whenever they decide to make that award, so you can be responsible and responsive. Remember the different types of solicitations we talked about. An IFB and RFQ are based on your low cost. The request for proposal is a lot more involved with your technical and your cost proposal. And again, it is based, that award for an RFP is based on best value, meaning that you are not necessarily the lowest cost, but best value to the federal government. Be familiar with the different types of contracts, whether it's a firm fixed price, cost reimbursement, or time and material contract. Know your labor rates. I'm quite surprised at the number of people that don't know what they want to charge for their services or their goods. Know your worth. Know your rates. If you're not sure what your rates are and you are looking for a solicitation and you're looking through it, you can always go back to the contracting officer and find out if this contract was awarded before. Who's the incumbent? What did the contract price go for the last time it was awarded? You can get a lot of this information through what's called a FOIA request, Freedom of Information request from that agency. Do your homework. Federal Procurement Data System will be as a good database to find out what contracts are being expiring. So if you know, and you're in construction, or if you're a janitorial, or if you're in IT, and you know that NASA will be issuing a solicitation for a 10-year contract, you've got to start 2 years before that contract award date to do your market research. Market research is very, very important. And your RFPs, again, are different from your RFQs. So know what type of solicitation that you want to respond to. Start now, looking for your teaming partners. I'm advising my clients, and this is just something that I think at during this time that may help all of you. Update your capability statements. Make sure that your capability statement has all the important information that you can now email to your contracting specialists, your contracting officers, so that they will have that information in front of you when they start releasing solicitations. Probably will be next month, the month of May, which they hope to award by the end of the federal government's fiscal year, which is 30 September. So we want to make sure that you're ready. If you're not sure about your capability statement, if it's hitting all the particular bullets that you want, email it to your counselor. Ask your counselor to critique it. Your past performance is very important, that it should be on your capability statement. So we're, like Yasmin said, we are here to help you. We are working very hard to make sure that your company is still successful, even during this difficult time that we are experiencing now. Okay. Any more questions, Yasmin?
Yeah, a couple more have come through.
Oh, perfect.
Here's one I can answer. How do we sign up for the bid match service? Just go to our website, mdptac.org. And on there, I think it's sort of in the middle of the homepage, you'll see a link that says Bid Match Service. And it will take you to a PDF that you can complete and email back to us. It's a payment of $120 for a year's worth of bid match opportunities. And you can select exactly what kind you're interested in, and then they're emailed to you as they become available. So this is a very popular service that we offer, particularly now during the crisis. People are, you know, anxious to look as many opportunities as possible. So please do go ahead and go to our website for that. Okay, let's see. What are the reliefs for small businesses? I do not want you to do the loans. Okay, not quite sure what that means. The person who wrote that, if you could rephrase that, please. Can you further explain the COTAR's role in the process and the need to market?
Say that again. I think it sounds like a two-part question. So if you can do part one.
Okay. Part one is, can you further explain the COTAR's role?
Oh, the COTAR.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I think here they're talking about the contracting officer's technical representative. So the COTAR generally works with the CO, which is the contracting officer, to make sure, and also can work with the project manager to make sure that you are in compliance with the contract. So they generally are evaluating your contract performance while the contract is being performed. And again, if you as a contractor are not performing, your contract can be terminated by the contracting officer for non-performance and non-compliance. That's why it's so important before you submit that proposal and that bid that you had the finances, the management skill to complete that contract. And if you do not, you must alert the contracting officer and get an amendment to the contract, changing the scope of work. And maybe that the contract has to be downsized and the government will have to go back out and recompete, which they do not like to do, because remember, this is your tax dollars at work, your federal tax dollars. So the government does not like going back out and recompeting a requirement. And what was the second half, Yasmin?
Why do we have to market? That's how he phrased it.
And I say it all the time. Those are my three favorite words, especially when I do training. You had to market. You've got to let the contracting officers know that your company can perform the work. How will they know if you don't market? I hope soon that we will beyond this crisis so that the government can have their vendor outreach days again, which is a very, very key component when it comes to marketing. During the vendor outreach days, you do have an opportunity to talk with the contracting officers, project managers, and to market. So right now it may be a little struggle, but there are now ways that you can continue marketing. This should be a time of aggressive marketing more than ever. Sole source, they're going to come out, requirements are going to come out for sole source requirements. You may be the only particular company that can perform a certain contract or deliver a certain item. Right now, and this is something I will share with you, FEMA and DHS are looking for small businesses. The Corps of Engineers are looking for small businesses. SBA are begging for small businesses to complete some of these requirements that they have immediate response for. So yes, I continue to say, you must market.
Okay. Do you have to be a registered business to utilize Bid Match? Yes. The Bid Match service on our website is for PTAC clients only. So you need to become a client, which is easy and quick to do on the website, as I explained earlier. And basically our requirements are that you have to have a registered business in the state of Maryland. You must be in good standing. And then you can apply for the bid match service. Is there any relief being offered to businesses at this time that does not include forgiveness loans?
That's a very good question. I think that's one, Yasmin, if they could email that into us, we will get an answer back to, perhaps you can do an email to the participants, or maybe put some information out on our website pertaining to that. So if that person can submit that in writing, then we'll be able to get a better answer back to them.
Okay, great. And also, just to remind everybody that we have a couple of new web pages on our website addressing the COVID-19 crisis, and lots and lots of resources for government contractors. So don't forget to go to our website to check those out as well. One more. Oh no, that was somebody answering to somebody else. Okay, no more questions at this time.
Okay, so I just want to end with a few things that I want our audience to keep in mind when responding to proposals. Rule number 1, make sure that you can perform the work. Make sure that you have the solutions and the financial capability. Prove that you understand the difference between the COMAR and the FAR. One of the other items I stress greatly is that you have past performance. Now we're seeing a lot of solicitations as well, that the agency wants you to have past performance in that, with that particular agency. Make sure that you have good references, and that if the government does go back to your references, that they will be able to give your company a good report. Make sure that your pricing is fair and reasonable. When the government does offer a contract or a solicitation or a bid, remember they are working within a certain budget. So make sure that your budget is in compliance with them. If you're not sure what their budget is, simply put that into a question form to see if you can find that answer to that particular question regarding budget. Again, you don't want to submit a proposal that's too high or too low, because if you submit too low and you can't perform, then again, there's that debarment list that you may end up on. And I wish all of you well. Again, if you have questions or concerns for the PTAC, please reach out to your counselor, or you can actually just email me. Our staff is listed on our website, and we will be glad to assist you with any questions or concerns.
Okay, well, thank you, everybody. We appreciate you coming on this webinar. I know a lot of you got value from it based on your responses in the chat box. As promised, we have recorded this. It will be posted on our website later this week. I'm also going to email you all the presentation as well. And just to encourage you again, if you have not already done so, please contact your PTAC counselor or register to become a client, because they're the best people really to give you specific procurement advice that pertains to your business.